Like in the language it's written in.
Well, it's cool. Like you read those books, and they're tough, but they're kind of cool. Like there's some really brutal stuff in them, right? Like there's murdering and killing and cool stuff.
There is
But
killing and cool stuff. And end of the world, like Revelations, is kind of spooky. If you
it is. It is.
You know what I find so funny? They took out a book. They took out the Apocrypha from Revelation, from the Bible, because they said you can't write another book in this book.
Yeah.
But the Apocrypha is literally written by the same guy that wrote.
That is
But there's another passage in the Bible too that says don't write beyond this thing, and it's like
We're
then you got the other half of
Oh, we're live?
The New
Hi,
Testament.
everybody.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us. We're a couple minutes late. That's all right.
Who wants to hang out and party?
Right.
Brian.
Hey, Joe, I might need you to help me.
Okay.
Is the mic good where it's at?
Oh no! So I'm about to show you where your dead spots are.
All right.
So I'm pulling this in. So I just want you to go ahead. Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, sounds like me.
Sounds like
You know when you like hear yourself in the microphone rather than in real life, it sounds totally different.
Yeah, all
it's
the
weird.
harmonics are
It sounds so
gone.
weird. Who is this freak?
Right. So I'm gonna go and talk right here, looking at me.
Yep. How's it going? What's up?
I'll talk here.
Hey yo.
Okay, you see how much louder you are right here as compared to there?
Yeah.
It's because your dead space is right there. So that's your cone. Keep in your cone and you're good.
So keep kind of like right here.
Yeah.
Roughly. Okay.
And as long as you do that, it'll continue to pick you up all the way through. You don't have to keep those on the whole time, but some people like to.
Okay. Makes me feel official.
Yeah.
Like a referee with a
Okay.
whistle.
Is this gonna get that fixed? Is that
I usually
okay?
don't wear them
Yeah.
because it's just
Oh,
weird.
I would
Yeah.
turn,
But
because there's a, what is that?
It
It's
kind of weirds
oh,
me out.
add
Listen
some,
to my own voice.
yeah, hear it echo back
Yeah,
in a different way.
I think it's just because,
Tint? Where's that?
so it'll be,
Tint.
yeah, so you want to turn
One,
it
What
two.
provoked the clean?
one of them's green, one of them's
For
purple.
what?
The hair
You
and
need
stuff Brian was
Be able
talking
to tell
about.
which one is
Oh,
by
it's just
dragging
too
it.
long.
It's
It
done.
was like it was all the way
Oh,
down
that's
to like
tilt.
my nose when it
Oh,
was,
shit.
and my hair does not cooperate
So it's
at
in the
all.
video,
So it was just
that one.
annoying. I was
Yeah.
tired of
It
it.
gets to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In the world.
My last
So then change
not my
your white
last time
balance.
because my wife didn't want it, but
On
the
your
time
white
before
balance,
that,
maybe
I did a lot of
cooler.
construction, and I was cleaning up floors with a sponge, and I kept
Bring your
picking up
white
all
balance
these hairs.
down and your saturation
I'm like,
up.
Down and
This is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whose are these?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
look
oh,
at
they're
that
mine.
now.
So I chopped them off. All these hairs in a
That's
bucket
better.
and sponge.
Oh yeah, that was enough to.
Yeah,
Chill.
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And you got him set up?
He is all set.
Okay. D, you good?
I
Oh, Joe needs. Yeah, sorry.
Am I the
Joe-
one that's gonna wear the headphones?
No, you take them.
have my headphones
Are
ready.
you gonna wear? You wear? 'em?
If you do, take one ear out so you can hear us better. Yeah. So then you can hear.
It's just like
You can take them off if you want.
Yeah, you don't have to wear them.
I'm just trying to be cool.
Yeah. You don't have to try,
That's
buddy.
fair.
You don't have to be try. You don't have to try. You're good.
I like him.
You're here. You're already
I'm
on the
here,
cool kids
I'm fun.
list. Maybe not yet, but one day when we have like 1 million followers or two, you know,
Yeah.
then it'll be cool.
A good 4 days from now.
Yeah. That's
Honestly, if we could be at 100,000 by the end of the year, I'd be pretty stoked.
You know where you're at right now?
No, like less than
134.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but every time we post, we get. I mean, like
Let's
last
pick them up.
podcast we put out, got 40 or something like that in.
Yeah, we just need our consistency. Once Edmund gets caught up to us and we're consistently releasing, because then we can also run out, 60 reels a week on
Yeah.
top of 2-hour-long podcasts a week, plus 2-hour-long live streams a week. Like it'll grow.
Yeah.
It'll grow.
Consistency, right? You just
It's
like,
the 100%.
consistent with
And it's
it.
just too much. It's just too hard.
And there's
right now.
tactics to it as well too. Like,
Right. Well, that's what
there's
he knows.
boosted
That's what Daniel
posts
knows.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know.
The hashtags, the posting times.
Yeah.
And I'm getting some of that stuff figured out. Oh, did you lower that? I had that one high. Did I not do that one high enough for you? I usually do 2 sets of
Yeah,
legs on
I-
yours, Joe. I'm so sorry. I totally forgot to do that this time. I got his with 2 sets of, but because that tripod is wrong, and then this needs to come down just a little bit, like that, right?
Yeah. And then I'm just gonna pull this up and twist it out. Oh.
Kind of fun.
Are you feeling good?
Mostly. I mean, I still
Back
hurt all
and
the time,
hips
but I'm
and
pretty
everything?
mobile.
Yeah.
I'm every single day, bro. Mobility exercises and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I have it all back, but yeah, it still hurts. It's just not like it did.
It's not like it was.
Not
like
at
when
all.
we-
But yeah, like sitting here, yes, my hip, my back hurt, but like it's kind of just like a dull nuisance. You know, I did all my exercises this morning and stuff, and I went and did a 3-gun competition last week, a pretty intense one for like 3 days. Like kind of like the most intense one in the country, one of the most intense ones in the country. In fact, right there's my hat, Parma 3 gun.
Nice.
And I think I'm just a little recovering. I don't know, not sleeping, driving, you know, hours and hours each way, and all that kind of stuff. It just
That winds me up though.
yeah.
Like we've been going at the dunes for a few days, and I took 2 naps, which was awesome. I don't get to take those very often,
Yeah.
but constantly riding, going, watching the kids, like I'm all like amped up right now. Like,
Yeah.
what's cool with him, you
Yeah.
know? And I was talking with this Finnish guy, this one job, you know, and he's just different than me. He's really introverted, you know. He's just like, how do you go do something like that, you know, and like recharge? I gotta go like get away from people. I'm like, getting away from people for me is like torture. Like,
Yeah.
like I gotta be around people. They give me energy that keeps me going, you know. Being by myself, that's a recipe for disaster, man.
Oh
So
man, a lot of people, well, a lot of us extroverts are that way for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard because my wife's very introverted. And so trying to get that balance, you know, because I'll be like, oh, I need to do something with people. She's like, we had people over last week.
You're like, I could do it every day.
I know, and I look at her and just like, and she says it with all seriousness too. That's what I'm just like, it's like,
testing.
You're like, why do you think I started this thing?
Yeah.
Like, I
Have
get
you ever heard Don't
people
Wrestle?
over.
yeah. And
I get to chat with them and get my BS fill, whatever you want to call this, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm good. Like
Yeah,
this
good.
fuels me up.
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah, it's fun.
It does. This is exactly. This is the highlight of our weeks, you know. And this
Yeah.
week's will be a little rough because next week we're doing all like admin crap. We're not doing a podcast tomorrow or Thursday.
But that'll make it even more fun in the future.
I hope so. Right. That's the idea, is to get all this stuff that we need to get dialed in. Get it. We just going to take one
Keep
day.
dialing it in,
hopefully.
right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
trying. Because that's. And again, when you're starting this, right? Everybody you talk, they're just like, just start. Like you're going to suck at first. You're going to make mistakes, and everybody and their brother's going to be like, hey, you got to do this. And I'm like, I know, but that's episode 5, and we're on episode 35. We fixed that on episode 7.
Yeah.
You just haven't seen it fixed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, my old work, when I worked for a large pharmaceutical here at Thermo Fisher, we had a saying a lot of the times, which is don't let where did that go? Don't let perfection get in the way of good. So a lot of people won't start anything
Yeah.
because they're like, it's got to be perfect before we
Oh,
launch.
yeah.
You know?
Hang on, hold this. We're going to talk about this. Are you about ready, bud?
Yeah, that's
Almost.
amazing. Cool. You gotta save that one.
Okay.
I got a few of those up my sleeve.
Yeah, I love that because that's so
it's
true.
Just, it's just what it is. Like,
It's like the
you see it so
decision
much.
paralysis.
Dude, a ton of that.
You
And that's
wait.
again kind of what this is about. Is so many people are there. So many people are there. And so those of us who don't have that issue, we just want to talk to them and hopefully help them
Decide.
decide. Yeah, just make the decision, dude. Like
It's hard to decide.
indecision
Though,
is one of
right?
the things
Yeah.
that just kills people. And
It
shouldn't.
is.
It shouldn't. Just make the decision. That's how you pick up experience. That's how you pick up wisdom.
Yeah.
Doing right, failing.
Doing and failing, doing and succeeding, right? Failing,
Doing
figuring out a
both.
better way. You can
That-
talk to people and like get input, right? So that you can try to make an educated decision and try to not to get the scar with the, you know, the lesson. But a lot of times you just got to get the scar with the lesson, man. I hate to say it
Yeah.
like that, but a lot of us are just that
There's
way.
no other way to, like, you can, it's interesting, me and my wife having this conversation last night, right? You can tell someone not to do something, but when you do it,
Mhm.
you learn, like, don't touch that, it's hot. Oh, what's that like?
How hot is that?
Oh,
Oh, crap,
yeah. Oh, now I know the burning sensation
Yeah.
I get on my fingers and the blisters and the calluses and everything that comes with it. Like, that sucked. I don't want to do that.
There's a
again.
skit online. It's actually hysterical. It's a bunch of Australian dudes, and I think the one guy's a comedian. Maybe a couple of them are comedians, and I have to try to look up his name at some point. But they're looking at there's an electric fence, and the one guy's like, "You guys see this fence right here?" And he's like, "This," and the guy goes, "Oh, this fence right here." And he touches it, and it zaps him. And he's like, "Oh my god!" And the guy's like, "I was gonna tell you, it's electric. Don't touch it." And then the other guy, the comedian dude, looks. He's like, "Oh, don't be such a pussy. It can't be that bad." And he grabs it.
And then he came back like 4 more times.
Yeah, I did it like 4 more
Yeah,
times. And he's
yeah.
like, "Well, you think I'm not tougher than a cow?"
Well, growing up around here, we did that as kids.
Oh, I
right?
know,
We'd
yeah.
go out,
I was
hold
like, I can't-
hands and grab the electric and shock everybody, you know?
Yep.
It's so much fun.
Or I just like to see who was brave enough to go up and push your leg against it.
Then there's that phenomenon too of
You ready? Okay, cool.
All right.
Let me get these all start recording here. You guys good?
Yep.
Oh, and just like that, kicks off another episode of the ADHD Express. The audio spike signifies that we have actually started.
Okay.
It also makes our nervous guests not nervous anymore.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, nobody is. It's awesome. And eventually it'll start, eventually people are going to start catching on and they're going to know what's coming. And then once that happens is when we're going to come out with a really cool video of just that couple of seconds where Joe screams and everybody goes, oh, like that.
A clip of all of them.
Just all of them like freaking out. As that
Or
happens.
we'll all start doing it together.
Or we'll start doing
He
it
should
together.
do. Like he should be like,
That was great.
That will eventually get there. Well, hey, you guys, I'm Brian Carlson, your host. Thank you for joining us for another episode of ADHD Express. Right now is the perfect time. If you haven't already, please click down and subscribe to this channel so that you guys can get the updates. Actually, when you're subscribed, make sure you click to get updates so you'll get a ding every time I release a new episode or we go live like we are right now. You can find us across all the social media platforms as well as the ADHDexpress.com where you can check out some of our official merch. As always, today I've got the Osmond brothers.
Hey, yo.
Hello.
DJ, you got your hair cut.
I did.
Everybody look, he got less hair, just like I all of a sudden lost my beard. He looks like so much younger. That's what everybody tells me. They're like, man, you just lost like 15 years. That's fabulous. Cool. Well, then today we have a great guest. We've got my friend Ben Calderwood. For those of you guys who already are following the show, you'll notice we put some posts out to kind of advertise and let you know what Ben's here to join us about, kind of some of his experiences. And part of the show, man, is we want to get this, these authentic stories of people who went to college or did go to college. It doesn't have to be college. I don't care. You went and started a career, a profession, and then we're just like, dude, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot. And a lot of folks don't ever have the courage to leave. A lot of folks are just kind of stuck there. We get analysis paralysis. There's a lot of things that happen. And so I think Ben and I hit it off so well. Well, actually, the reason we hit it off so well is when you have two men that spend hours inside of a shower together, you just kind of bond.
Did you see his face when you said that? Because you were talking about earlier about the scream, and you just did that. And he just did it back to us like, what are you talking about?
You spend
Context. We got to give the backstory, right?
Well, okay, so
you just creeped out a lot of people.
I did. So, and that was intentional. It's funny, but so he helped me build my shower, you guys. So I have that awesome shower with a steam shower. It's you guys. My shower is like 11 feet long, 9 feet tall. It has glass floor to ceiling, and I've got a commercial steamer, and you could steam it so much you can't even see another person in there. And so when we were doing that shower, it was just kind of, the joke was two men hanging out in the shower all day long.
I love that.
Well,
We were close.
Brian got a hold of me because he was having some hip problems
Yep.
stuff, so I came and did some of his floors, and
Yep.
then he started putting up the vapor barrier in the shower. And here he is, like it's, like I said, it's
Cutesy.
tall, and
Yeah.
he's trying to do all this. I'm like, dude, let me just help you.
Yeah,
And
so I
he's
pulled
all
a
like,
hip out. For those of you who don't know, I tore the right labrum out of my hip and crushed a vertebrae in my back. It's a combination martial arts injury / construction injury, all within like a week. So that left me really incapacitated in spring of 2020 and into 2021. And so Ben absolutely stepped in to help out, and I appreciate
Oh,
it.
it's Stephen. I just came to help him out, and he was just like trying. I'm like, he's in pain and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, let me get in there, and I'm a big fella. I can
Yeah.
help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
So we sat there for 2 hours, and Brian told me his life story about a lot of the stuff you talked about. Getting
Drug dealing and busted and swat. Yeah, you can
we're in the
just say
shower, and he's like, "Yeah, I went to jail." I'm like, "Whoa, who am I with here?"
Change the shower situation.
It does. It changes it a whole lot.
But then he just went on to tell me, and it was just very interesting. But that wasn't the first time I met Brian. First time I met Brian was he came to inspect my home
Yeah.
when I sold it. So, like a little bit about that was so. You were talking about the courage to leave,
Yeah.
that indecision. So as I listened to some of your podcast stuff like that, for me, you got to have inspiration and you got to have a catalyst that
Yeah.
springs you forward, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd seen a lot of my buddies go out. One of them went out and he took his family, went and traveled around the country for
Oh, that's
like a year.
amazing.
He
Yeah.
just quit his job, got a teeny little bumper pull trailer.
Yep.
And then they went and hiked and did all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool, you know.
Yep.
So I had that inspiration, and then the catalyst for me was in my 20s. I lost my good buddy to suicide. It kind of took me down the bad road.
Right.
And then right before you came into the picture, I lost my brother to cancer.
Yep. That's right. I remember.
And when that happened, you kind of look at yourself a little bit different in the mirror, and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Like, I went down the traditional, I went to college, I I played football for him. I got a scholarship and paid for my school, and I got into a corporate world, which was good. You just kind of just going along with the flow. And then those things happen. I'm kind of just looking back, like he was 37 years old. He's got.
Is your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He had pancreatic cancer. It took him in 6 months, watched him wither away just like that,
Right.
And
he's probably a big, healthy dude like you. Right?
No, he's a little fella. He was wiry. He was kind of a punk. I
Interesting.
tell people all the time, like, they're like, what happened to him? Like, he didn't eat his vegetables.
Yeah.
He was so picky as a kid.
That's funny.
Like my mom would cook food and stuff like that, and he'd be like, I found a carrot in it, and he wouldn't even eat anything. Like, so I'm scared my kids. And they're like, why did Dan die? Well, he got cancer because he didn't eat vegetables. And if you knew my brother, like, most people are kind of like, you're kind of weird about this death thing, but he would joke about anything. He'd be laughing about this kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
So
Yes, he'd be offended if you didn't take the opportunity.
he would be offended if you didn't do it. Like,
yeah, I'm kind of that way.
perfect
too.
example
Right.
was I ran into someone that knew him like 3 months ago. And they're like, how's your brother? I'm like, he's dead. Like, just like that. That's
Yeah.
And that face, like, he just gave us over there. He was like, I'm
Yeah.
like, he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
My wife's like, dude, you gotta stop. Like, you don't think you're
Why? It's an
demented
honor
and
for
twist.
him. It really
But
is.
it really is to honor my brother. Like, he pushed the boundary. He pushed me in a lot of ways. Like, I was timid as a kid, and he would always push me. Quit being a wuss. Let's just go do this. Go do this. You can do it backwards. He was always pushing
guy,
people
sure.
that way. So
That's awesome.
anyway, so finally, when he died, I was like, I'm done. I quit my job. We sold the house, everything in it, and we're going to move into a fifth wheel with 4 kids and a wife and go do that. Brian comes over, and so I told him about this, and he's like, you know where you should go? There's a place out there where there's like 6 million rattlesnakes. You should hang out there. And I'm like, who are you, dude?
Massacre Rock, Idaho.
Yeah. He's like, you should go check out this place with like, and I don't think he knew that, like, I don't love snakes. Like, I'm not like terrified of them, but like, it's not my cup of tea. And he's like, you should go hang out with rattlesnakes. It will be fun.
So, even funny story about that. So, like, when we first started going to the church that we were involved with, and like, everybody's like, oh, we're all adventurous and stuff, and so we're gonna do this family camping. We go on a couple of family camping trips with other people from the church, right? And then it's like kind of our turn to plan one. And I'm like, I got the perfect place, right? So where do I take everybody? Massacre Rock, Idaho, where they have like an infestation problem with rattlesnakes. Like literally, you pull into the campsite to go check in, and the camp director would be like, hey, we got 2 rules here. If you see a rattlesnake, you either have to kill it or you got to come and get us so we can kill it.
Yeah, this is where he told me to go. The family, like,
So
you know what would be fun?
I take all these church people, these families, and we're out, and it's on the Snake River, and so we all have kayaks and stuff, and there's this little island with a
Snake River.
Yeah. So there's this island with this shack on this island, right? And so I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna kayak out to this island and check this thing out. And then there's parts of the Snake. It's a big river. For those of you who don't understand, that's a big, big river, and especially right there it is. So. Anyway, so we get out to this island, right? And it's me and all these little kids, and then one of the moms is like, I'm gonna go along just in case. Probably still don't. I know she doesn't have a high opinion of me to this day still. So anyway, so there we go. With all these kids.
Probably not because of you.
No, it's
Just
true.
because of the thousands of snakes.
Right, yeah. Well,
and not like a blow snake or like a garden snake, a rattlesnake.
full on Diamondbacks, yeah. Well, and actually, so you have to hear the rest of the story, and you're gonna probably be like, okay, it's you. So we go up to this shack thing, and the kids go run. I'm like, wait, everybody! I'm like, we gotta police for rattlesnakes first. And as we get around there, sure enough, there's a rattlesnake, right? And it starts going underneath this building, and I'm like, all right, kids, you're gonna love this. Don't ever do this. I catch it by the tail as it's going underneath this building. I shove my arm underneath that kid, and I drag it back out. And it it's a snake, and it's a little upset, but I got it by its rattler, so all I can do is hiss and like, I gotta bite you. And I pull my knife out, and I go, lop its head right off with one throw. Like, it was one of those things, it was like out of a movie, but it was really happened, And I'm like, hey, anybody want to hold the dead snake? And so then all the kids were like, yeah! So I let everybody play with the snake and shake the rattle, and I dig a hole, and you bury the head. Because for those of you who don't know, a rattlesnake is cold-blooded. It'll still keep biting, even when the head's detached.
Mm-hmm.
So you dig a hole, you bury the hole, you put a big rock right on top of where the head is buried, so it can't work its way out.
Yeah.
So anyways, then you're safe. But so then all these kids, so they decide they're going to bring it back to the campground with us. Oh yeah, dude, it didn't really go over that well.
It was not a
as you can imagine, yeah. The kids, right, think I'm awesome.
You just Kill the snake, cut off its head. We can't even speak right now.
Yeah, it was just, but the mom was less than thrilled about the entire expedition, and I think that kind of interrupted the whole like many families going camping and together.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I can't help it if they're squeamish. Like anyways.
There's something about snakes. I don't know. My dad told us this one story. So he was fighting a firefight. He was firefighting down in New Mexico or Arizona, and he goes into this middle of nowhere bar, and he sees that they have a snake that's wrapped around the entire top portion of the thing. And he walks up to the bartender and he's like, "How many snakes did it take in order to make that?" And she looked at him like, what do you mean? That's just one snake. He was like, no way. She's like, go look at it. He walked up to it, and it was a rattlesnake, and the scales on it each were the size of a dollar bill coin.
Wow.
All the way across. Found out later that this place just so happened to have the world rattlesnake wrestling competition.
They crawled into dens with these gigantic rattlesnakes and pulled them out of there.
To see who gets the biggest one every year. The
That was the
rattlesnake
record.
fishing.
You know, and
Brian, I think that's your cup of tea.
I thought noodling was a little bit crazy, but like, and to be honest, like I would rather go in the rattlesnake den than noodling.
No.
Snake as big as you?
I'd rather take the fish by the gill and get it out of the water.
Yeah, but you might find a snapping turtle.
That would be
What about a
unfortunate.
snake? Big old one. Yeah.
But
lunging right into you.
I can see him though. He's
Yeah.
coming. I can catch
What you
him.
do? Get put in a chokehold to take it out.
On my
Sleeper.
The heads on these things were like this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
awesome.
It's
I wanna
like a
go there.
wrestling
I wonder
match,
if
a
it's still
WWE
there.
wrestling match.
It's in Arizona.
What episode? So Neil Osmond, the boys' dad, was on episode like 29 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that should be a couple months out. We'll be able to get that one out for you guys, and you can hear about Neil's adventures.
Yeah, snakes are fun, right? Like my buddies in high school knew that I didn't love them,
Uh-huh.
and he'd always put his little ball python on the back of my neck
Sure.
to,
Naturally.
to help me out.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit better, and then in college we went to this these one people's home, and this girl had one of those big snakes that she
Yeah.
draped on herself.
Yeah, Burmese
And I was,
python probably.
You know, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And I'm like, face your fears, you know.
Yeah.
So I go up there, and they all petted it just nicely, you know. And I'm like, okay, I got this. So I start walking up, and the thing just S back up in. I'm like,
Never
dang
mind.
it,
Yeah.
Why?
you know, it could sense something, you know. But
Yeah.
I tried to face that fear, you know.
That's funny.
So,
Hey, that's what we do, right?
all right, you got to face them.
You
Got
know,
to teach
years
kids
ago,
face
when
the fears.
when my wife and I were first married, I used to hang out at a reptile rescue place, and they had a bunch of 12, 14-foot Burmese pythons, and I used to go hold them all the time and hang out with them. I always thought they were really cool.
Yeah,
Like,
but like I try not to pass on to my kids. So my kids
They're not
like
afraid of it,
snakes
yeah.
and all this stuff, and they hold them and stuff. And like, hey, Dad, you want? I'm like, yeah, I'm good or whatever. You
you
know,
guys
it's
go
okay.
ahead. Let me get a picture of you.
Yeah, yeah, you go ahead. You know, it's good.
That's funny.
So,
Oh, really cool fact. Do you know that it's built into our DNA to be afraid of snakes?
No.
Yeah. In fact, some of our oldest stories about it, way back in the day, our main predators, we had three major predators: large cats, large snakes, and large birds.
Huh.
Right? So what is a dragon? It's a large snake with four legs like a cat, and it flies like a bird.
Oh, there you go.
The thing that carries the most fear is also the thing that hoards gold. Right? The thing that is valued most comes from facing your fears.
Oh, I
Nice.
see where you're going with that.
deep, right?
That is deep.
Yeah.
There you go. See, face your fears. Hey, by the way, there's actually a snake in that red box right there for you. Sorry, good timing though, right?
Is it really?
No.
That'd be cool if it was. I'd check
I
it
know.
out.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's funny. I was doing a home inspection the other day, and again, to me, some of this stuff, like I forget, and that's where we read my personality, and like I'm really nice and courteous, but I can also be abrasive. I don't mean to be. That's the ADHD that just like spits stuff out. So I'm doing this home inspection with these people, and when I was under the deck, I found a snake skin that was like that big. Like for a garter snake, which those of you who don't know, that's a big garter snake, and it was thick. I was like, oh, that's a big boy. And like so then I showed the people. I'm like, oh yeah, check this out. And like, yeah,
We're not
don't like-
buying it.
They don't like snakes. Yeah. And I
We're
forget
moving.
that as I come up with it in my hands that people, as they, freak out and react, then you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think that would bother you.
Should have just left it under the house.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said any. Well, and I've actually had deals fall apart from that, and then the realtor be upset with me because I'm like, oh yeah, I hope you guys like snakes. There's garter snakes everywhere. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, here, watch this. And you go dig around the bushes and come up with like 2 of them. And then I've had people like literally bail on houses because of that. And I'm like, and again, one of those is like, well, and the realtor gets mad at me, but I'm like, okay, but this is a person who's going to buy this home next to a swampland. There is always going to be snakes here. So like, if that person is that afraid, I really did them a favor.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not going to have a house in a snake-infested area.
And
Yeah.
especially if it's like their worst fear too.
Right.
Constantly walk. Oh,
Yep.
then they're just gonna.
Because there were snakes in the crawl space, snakes in the flower beds, and like everywhere you're walking, there's just snakes.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, it doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I had one house. Ooh, story time. That would be a great time for a sound. You guys, so our editors have asked us to come up with sounds. So as we go with story time, we have to have some sort of a. We should do a poll. We should start doing polls and have people engage. with us with sounds.
Your eyes look like a light bulb went off, so it's gotta
Did
be
it?
like that. Or it's gonna be like, pop, there you go.
Yeah.
Like
So
or the click, the old click.
So for those of you guys who know, if you know a home inspector as a personal friend, or in fact, actually there's a bunch of home inspectors out there, we ought to like collect them and start doing your top 10. Like, so I've done thousands upon thousands of home inspections, right? Most houses don't even come into the top like 1,000 or 100 maybe, right? Of bad, gross, disgusting stuff. But this house is in the top 10 and it's been in the top 10 since I did it. It's never been bumped off the list. And this house was over in Tremont area. It was in kind of an ugly situation. There was some domestic stuff. And so it was some outside parties that brought me in as the third party to evaluate the condition of the home. So it's already kind of an emotionally charged, kind of a hard situation. This is the worst house I've ever been in. Hoarding to the wazoo. I mean, mice, snakes, spiders, bugs, cockroaches, like you name it. It's like, at first, I'm on the outside of the house. And there's just snakes everywhere, which is not that big of a deal to me, right? Until I start getting close to the house and I'm literally watching like probably 10 snakes weave their way in between the bricks as they crawl their way up and go into a hole in the attic. And that was like, huh, well, that's disturbing because I have to go in that attic. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is not cool. And as I just keep going, it's like more and more and more snakes. I go to open the electrical panel on the outside of the house. And as I open it up, there's the metal safety cover on the inside, and I take out the screw and I pull the safety cover off. There's probably 10 snakes in the electrical panel. A couple of them are fried because they connected the terminals and they burn them out in the electrical panel. But the rest are going into the main cluster of wires that are going into the inside electrical panel. So now I'm clued in to kind of how bad the situation is. So then I get in the house and I go to open the electrical panel and snakes it's like an Indiana Jones movie with snakes coming out of the panel at me, dude. I'm not even joking you. Like, it was like one of the, I mean, I'm dropping stuff like, okay, this is getting a little excessive, you know? And then I'm in the house and I have to like open or close a door. So I have to like kick a pile of crap out of the way. And it's either a den of mice and mice scatter, or it's a den of snakes and snakes scatter. This whole house, dude. I ended up so sick. I had mold in my lungs. Like, I had to get all kinds of treatment to cure. By the time I got home, I was coughing up blood from being in that house for 3 hours.
Dang.
Like, I have never seen anything like it. And like, there was the whole back wall. There's a brick. So 70s and later houses, the brick walls are not structural. It's a brick veneer. And this house was probably 3,000 feet, so 1,500 each level, 1,500 square feet. The whole back wall was brick.
That
And the
cavity.
whole brick vanilla was falling off of the house. No, it was just one of those things. Like, it was just about to be this really catastrophic failure. And then as we kept doing stuff, it turns out the reason the house was so bad with snakes is the sewer line had broken like right in the middle of the house and had basically created a giant sinkhole under the home, which had filled in with like one of the world's largest snake balls. So I mean, it was just like millions and millions and millions of snakes everywhere.
No, buy that home, right?
Yeah, it was tragic, dude. It was such an awful situation. But yeah,
So-
some of the stuff that was the one crawling through stuff. I had snakes like fall on me, you know.
But as you were talking about that, I had a genius idea for you. You should change your work attire to Indiana Jones clothes. Because you play with snakes, you're with cobwebs, you're finding treasures. I mean, last time I seen him, like, he was inspecting for my wife, and he was down in the crawl space, and there's this giant tube, and he's back up in there way. I'm like, Brian, what are you doing? Come on down. I'm like,
He's like, I don't even fit.
I couldn't even fit.
You couldn't even fit that. Oh, I remember that one.
You're lucky. Like, you're lucky. You're a little fella.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger feller.
Yeah.
And there's this giant like sewer pipe like right inside the axis. You had to like go under and out. And he's like, come on down there. I'm like, yeah, I don't fit.
Yeah. He's right, because like just like Indiana Jones when he tears through the thing of spider webs. I do that every day, like
so
almost every day.
The hat, the lid, show up to your inspection, you're like, oh, I'm Bron. I don't know where I came up in Australia.
Yeah.
I'm Bron Carlson.
Yeah.
Here to inspect your house.
That's not a snake. That's a snake.
Yeah.
That's a snake right there.
Well, if you remember, back then is when I was still carrying a big old knife on my belt too. So I full disclosure, as you guys know, if you've watched the podcast for a long time, I was a convicted felon on drug charges, and I have since had all my records expunged and have my firearm privileges back. So that's why I no longer carry the big knife. I just went with a gun. Yeah, faster and easier. Well, and after the badger in the crawl space, like I was like looking at my knife and looking at the badger, being like, I feel horribly unprepared. So again, I was in Richmond, Utah. There was a badger in a crawl space that I was in, and the badger had something to say about that. And fortunately, I can backpedal really fast because I'm a little guy.
Can you imagine if you showed up for inspection dressed as Indiana Jones? People be like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah,
like,
this is the guy. Yeah, this is the guy. Yeah,
this is the guy right here.
Well, what's funny is I feel that way with the huge beard. Like when I'm all clean shaven and they come in, like people, I don't get like the immediate respect. I get some like skepticism. Oh yeah, this clean shaven young punk, he don't know nothing. But when they come in there and I got a beard down covering half my chest, they're like, this is the guy. Yeah. And I do wear the hat when it's outside. I have a cowboy type hat just to keep the sun
off. You
off.
should wear it all the time. I think it'd be awesome. Or at least for like Halloween or for me one time, dress up and be like, well, you'll be Indiana Jones and I gotta be
Indiana Holmes.
Yeah, Indiana Holmes. That's like 13
That's good.
Rebranding your business.
I would have to
Indiana
rebrand
Homes.
Carlson Home Inspection to Indiana Holmes.
Indiana, you show up like that, I'm here to inspect your house. Chappelle!
You'd have to give me a little Filipino kid to drive around my little car. Shorty's name? Yeah. You're just gonna have to dress up like him. Oh, this is Shorty.
Let's drive around your car for
No,
you.
Short Stack. Is that what you call him?
I don't remember. I
I
love
haven't
those
seen
movies,
Indiana
though,
Jones
Indiana
for a long
Jones.
time.
Going back though,
I was waiting for us to come back to like,
yeah.
how the show goes. We get sidetracked and then we come
Come back. Yeah, that's why it's the ADHD Express.
Yeah.
Going back, so he told you about a place with snakes.
Yeah. Well, what the story was like, my backstory, right?
Yep.
So I was on the verge. We literally just closed on our house. We were moving into a fifth wheel with our family. So watching my brother die the way he did,
Yep.
and so quick and leaving kids behind, I was like, what's this life about? Like I'm gonna go out here and chase money all my life. I mean, that's good and you need some, but like my kids are getting older and you hear it over and over and over again, like, don't blink or your kids are gonna be over. So I'm like, I'm gonna take advantage of this. So we sold everything, we moved into a trailer. It gave me a chance to coin something you said off on your other podcast, to re-engineer my life, right?
Right.
It was some freedom. A lot of my debt had gone away because I didn't have the house, I didn't have all these things. Yeah, I had a trailer and a few debts, but I was able to take about 2 years of not working and spend every day with my kids. And the intent was to go travel a lot, but when you watch other people's YouTubes and stuff like that, they burn out real quick on those because they spend all their money on diesel getting to across the country, and then they're done in a month, and it's like, well, we want to go travel. So we ended up spending some time with my father-in-law on his property, and we did a bunch of trips around here and things like that. So, and I made it, like I said, about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I got to spend every day with my kids when they were at a very impressionable stage, before, my daughter's getting older, she's into boys and friends and stuff, and that's just life, right?
It's just life.
So, and I was able to get that. So, and then when it all kind of started coming back around, I didn't really want to go back and work for somebody else that way. The company I was with had treated me really well, but when a different company came in and bought them, they started taking me all the little perks like we were talking about up front, right? They used to give us like Lagoon Day. They used to give us turkeys for Thanksgiving. They had all these cool little perks that weren't a ton of money. And when the new business came in, they just started pulling it away. It's like, no, you're just gonna come
So
here
we're
and
talking
work.
about that. Yeah, there's a lot of businesses that do that kind of thing. Like being able, employee retention is important, and so many people come in and they just start cutting all that little stuff. And it's like it doesn't have to be just about the money. It's about the how you treat them.
Atmosphere, right? Like
Atmosphere, all of it.
we had a really good work environment, very good work culture. I felt, and then when they started doing that, you could just see it all crumbling. And the things they were taking away. I mean, the company made millions upon millions of dollars every quarter, right? And the stuff they took away, I mean, for a couple hundred employees, we're talking maybe a couple $100,000.
Yeah,
Like that's
Right.
that's
off of several hundred million. Grocery costs have
Cool.
skyrocketed during this
It is
administration and the current economy, and I don't blame all the administration. Actually, total squirrel chasing a moment here. Something that a lot of people don't realize. So prior to COVID, there was almost no such thing as the whole personal shopper thing, right? You didn't put an order at Walmart and the person goes and gets all your stuff. That did not exist, right? And then they say, oh yeah, you're not paying for that. Yes, you are. We are all paying for that. That is part of why grocery costs have gone up so much. Those people make like $20 an hour. They make good money. Those shoppers, they make good money. And have you ever been in there and watched them? Like they all move as slow as humanly possible. It's like watching a bunch of civil service or like the government guys. They're all there's 10 street workers and one dude shoveling.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
it's any
like
business,
they're
right?
paying really good money,
Yeah.
and they work really, really slow, very non-motivated, non-hustling. And so that is also part of why your grocery costs are so high, because those are employees that the grocery stores didn't have prior to COVID. Those are expenses they did not have. So it's not all the government, it's not all the current administration that's causing this. It's a lot of things. And some of it is the conveniences that y'all are wanting to play with.
Right.
So for those of you who are just sitting at home and ordering your groceries online and you go up and somebody loads them into your trunk, you're part of the reason grocery costs are so much higher. You are.
It's almost like you were attacking those people. Like,
all those introverts,
how could you?
all you introverts who are afraid to go to the grocery store, come on.
Not even introvert. It's like I know my wife does at the time. There is some convenience, right? Where when a mom has 4, 5, 6 kids.
Oh, for sure.
That are young.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Hey, let's go take these 4 young 5
so
kids.
all 4 kids, mommy, I want this. Mommy, I want that. I get
That's
it.
torture.
I
for
get,
the
and I
mom,
am,
right?
you guys, as I
it's
tease.
a perfect situation, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I need a gallon of milk. And get up and go get it. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. Like I like going to the store because I run into people.
So I know,
and
yeah.
My kids hate it sometimes.
So we're
because-
both extreme extroverts. So I was just teasing about your introverts. Like I get it, you guys are struggling. Like everybody I feel like I should, because like I have a lot of people in my life that are introverts, and I don't want to hurt their feelings. Like I get it, we are all different. So yes, like my wife, it causes her anxiety going to the grocery store. I'm happy to go with her. Like I'm like, no, let's go. We're gonna run into some people, and I'm gonna like act funny and embarrass you in front of a bunch of people.
And
And
my wife hates that too. The conversation I had with her last night is I need to, and I was talking with her right as I got out of the car. She's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Don't swear too much. don't embarrass you, right?" So I'm like in my head, like, "Don't tell stories to embarrass my wife," because like I'm like you, like
Yeah.
To me, they're just stories, and you learn from them. And
Yeah,
I've gotten
it's
a
just
lot
life.
better. She's like, don't tell any of the story. I'm like, okay.
But when my dirty laundry aired all over nationwide news, that was kind of a thing for me, and I was just like, and also that's part of why. So those of you who know I don't watch the news is because when I watched my own news and they were so wrong and they're so far from the actual truth, that's when I was like, oh yeah, media, they are totally here just to sell a story. They don't really care about the truth or accuracy. They just want a sensational story. And that was why I can no longer follow any news network. They are all full of crap. You are watching an agenda, period.
Well,
Those people who think differently, like you are part of the problem. You're drinking from that hose, baby.
but that's the thing is like, so when we were in the trailer for the little bit at my father-in-law's, we go in and visit at times, and he's always got like CNN or something like that going. And the more you listen to it, the more you just like, you're sucked into it, and you're like, the world's gonna end,
Yeah, dude. Tommy Cam, come on in, big fella.
Tommy!
Hi, everybody joining us live.
Hey, buddy.
Tommy's back.
Hi, buddy.
He's happy.
Oh, you big
And news just stands for notable events and weather sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It does.
But when we were there, like, we were so concerned about the economy and this war and that and everything else. And when you shut it off and you go outside and you ride dirt bikes, like we like to do, you stop worrying about it so much. And again, you can't avoid it, right? It happens. But I had a squirrel idea for you here.
Yeah.
I just want to jump
Isn't
around.
this stuff squirrel? Because we want one.
Well, you said you didn't want to offend your introvert friends.
Yeah.
And I'm all like, well, let's try.
I'm pretty sure my presence usually offends them. I think I could just show up with you.
Like a question, like a debate. Like I like to have these with people. Like, and this is a good different audience, right?
Yes, it is.
Do you think someone can change from an introvert to an extrovert, or vice versa?
I think that they can, but I think that it takes more work on their part.
They 100% can, because I was so introverted through school. I
Same
didn't
here.
talk to anyone. I didn't want none of that. I wanted to be away from the groups, and now it's like I'm talking to everyone, shaking hands with everyone I meet. Like,
looking them in the eyes.
yeah,
See,
exactly.
I was really quiet and reserved in high school, and maybe I wanted to be an extrovert, but I wasn't, just because I didn't feel like I knew how to talk to people very well, especially the opposite sex. I was very scared of them. Like, well, what do I say? And you're like, then you learn, like, just open your mouth and start talking to them,
Yeah.
So I got a lot of friends that are extroverts, and I keep telling them all the time, like, you can change if you want to. And they're like, no, I can't. I was born this way or whatever. And I'm all like, no, it's a choice. Like, the more you do it, the more you're around people, the more you get comfortable with it. And then the more you want to, like, a good buddy of mine, he's extremely introverted, and some of the things we do kind of sets him off. Like, we were down at UTV takeover in St. George a few years ago. Just tons of people.
Fun. That's way fun.
Yeah, we love that, right?
Yes.
He was kind of like, what are we doing? And so we went over to this place where they were jumping razors on the backside of in Sand Hollow there. And you couldn't really see because we got there late. And we were sitting by this truck, and I just got to talk to him for a minute, being social. And they're like, hey, you want to get up in here and watch? I'm like, sure. So we get up in, I'm talking to him. I had my littlest boy with me, and they're like, hey, does he want some snacks or something? I'm like, if you're offering, like,
yeah, sure, yes.
And all of a sudden, my buddy's like sitting there, he's like, so where do you know these guys from? And I'm like, I just met them like 10 minutes ago. He's all like, get me out of the truck! Like, you don't know these people? And I'm all like, they're just people. Like, we're just making friends, like, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
My favorite is that people say that we are NPC generators.
Yeah.
Non-playable characters. Just people just start randomly talking, and then just everything just comes, and like you're like, oh yeah, that person so and so. How long have you known that? Oh, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's my kids all the time. Dad, how do you know that guy? Oh, met him.
Just met him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
And they're getting pretty good at it too. So we were at the dunes, and my daughter came back. She's like, yeah, just ran into a boy, talking to him. We're gonna want to ride. I'm like, cool, but let me meet him.
Yeah, right. I know.
So they do pretty good at like being social and stuff like that. And when we were, one of the benefits of like kind of being a trailer and being out in that community, which the people that travel a lot, when you're in some of those like RV parks and stuff like that, they're very social people.
Yeah.
Like it's, there was times where we'd be sitting there and we'd run into people, and the next thing you know, they're coming into the trailer and we're having pancakes and talking. They're telling us their life story. Hey, we're from here. We do that, everyone's like, oh, you know, these people, they're just really cool people, and you get to know them. You know, it's fun.
It is fun.
It's
I
awesome.
absolutely. That's exactly why we're doing this podcast. Like right now, we're all still starting out, but eventually the goal is we are going to be all over the place doing stuff, meeting people, and having complete strangers on here that we get to know.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's all about.
So is the plan to like move around, like go to the places and do the podcast kind of thing?
Possibly, Sometimes, yeah. So like as we want to do events and different things like that, we'll probably do the podcast there. But these guys have got a system called Riverside that they can do remote podcasts pretty easily with people. And so we'll probably do some of that. But like there's a guy I did a home inspection for, and we've talked about him before. He sold everything he owned, bought a camper, and they are running their camp hosts at a campground down in Mexico, down in Baja. And so, and he goes, it's all stateside folks coming through. He goes, but you're in Mexico. And he goes, and it's awesome. And he had a good business, you know, and just corporate America type stuff, and just was kind of miserable, you know. Is younger than me and looks a lot older than me, and just, you know, which again, I know I got my age on me, but it's fun, you know. He just was not happy
with his job, right?
Yeah. And so they bagged everything, and I think they're pretty happy. I mean, I've had a little bit of correspondence with him. I just need to schedule him to be on the show here eventually. But
I always think like for me, like I know I talked about inspiration and catalyst, right? What was it that finally like got them to trigger and be like, okay, I've had enough of this. Like, how do I move on?
I think he had a health thing.
Did
Yeah, and then he was just like,
to me, that's what it takes. Like a lot of people, like we were talking earlier, that indecisiveness, like
it takes something.
Right before we started this, we were getting into the thing of a quote that I had heard at work. So my job, I know in the description it says I was a financial advisor. My job was a process improvement manager.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
So my job for 10 years was anywhere the business had problems was to go in and say, okay, well, what's going wrong? What does the data say? How do we put together things to like, oh, productivity's down 20%. We've got scrap rate up. Okay, cool. What's causing it? And then use the 80-20 rule, which is like, look at the data. There's probably 2 or 3 problems. They're causing 80% of our issues.
Pareto distributions.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of a math nerd that way, right? So if we fix these 3 instead of all of the problems, we'll get an 80% improvement. And we'll go from a 20% scrap rate down to a 8% scrap rate in a week. And we would do these so my job would be we'd get a group of people together.
Like math and statistics.
Yeah, like, this is the boringest thing I've ever heard. No. And I bring it home with me too. My wife's like, you leave that crap at work. But you know, that's what I did was process improvement. So
cool. I love it.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's right. I do remember that, Paul. I did. Everybody who read the description, I'm sorry that I said financial advisor. I was thinking of Jason Nelson for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, people are gonna get wrong. They're gonna come to me for financial advice, and I'll be
like, I didn't know you. And you were like, the best thing you could do is just give me large sums of cash.
Get a motorhome,
spend your hard-earned money on dirt bikes and razors. Go out and live large, because that's gonna set you up for retirement really well.
Miles per mile,
miles per gallon, miles per mile.
Yeah. But again, that for me, you know, like we talked about, like that's just it's me. Like money's good, right?
Yeah.
But you can't get the time back, and it's all about just I try and make as many decisions as I can to put that time with my kids. I have a neighbor, he's got a very good like siding business. He builds homes in Bear Lake, and he does pretty well for himself, right? He told me this last year his goal is to go do more than me. He's like, I'm gonna go travel and do more than you. And I'm all like, good luck, buddy. Like, and it's just because it's what I prioritize. It's how I've engineered my life, right?
Yeah.
From my decisions about the cars I drive and the way we spend our money, it's how do we buy passes to Beaver Mountain and to Lagoon, and I'm the type
have the time to go.
And I'm the type that like I buy it and it's like, well, I'm going to make them pay for this, right? So we'd go to Beaver in the last few times, 30, 40 times, 20 to 30 times a year. We go to Lagoon 10, 20 times, you know, we ride dirt bikes 4, 5, 6, 10 times a year, go to like trips.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, how do you want to engineer your life to do the things you want? So.
And that's exactly right. If you're not happy about it, that is it. You have to engineer the happiness. And that's part of, again, I've mentioned it on most of my podcasts, that's why we're starting to do this, right? It's like I realized where my stresses were coming from. I figured them out. And honestly, like I love my house and my property, but my wife and I have some regrets, you guys. We built too big of a house, spent too much on it, and now we're kind of here. You know, and it was like we wanted to have more fun, but you know, it's okay. You get there.
But you have the choice still, though,
I
right?
still
Yeah.
do. Well, yeah, and actually, you guys, I actually think I have my development under contract.
Hey.
So they're working out finances. We're trying to close in about 3.5 weeks.
Hey.
So yeah, that is going to be phenomenal. That's going to free me back up. I'm just stuck with too many because I do a ton of projects. That's when you know that too. Like I've always got 10 things going on.
More than that, you got
don't know
like
about.
40.
I know. Yeah, people are like, "Wait, what do you mean you have another project?" Like I didn't even know about that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I know.
Still some of the small ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've done really well with the real estate stuff, flipping, rentals, properties, development. I've done really well with that, and it's fine. I'm a little bored. Like unfortunately, that is a real thing with the ADHD. I'm bored. I've learned what I need to learn about it. I could just go do it, and then I'm like, huh. Well, I don't know anything about having a podcast.
And I like talking to people.
And I like talking to people. Well, so again, some of these podcasts haven't been released yet, but like we even had my therapist on here and my scaling coach,
Yeah.
right? Like my $500 an hour scaling coach. And we had them on here to talk about how they helped me reach this decision.
Yeah.
You know, because like, and I talked to you about it. Like this was not an easy thing to decide and to start doing. And, you know, and as we do it, and we had a guy who has a podcast on just last week, and, you know, he's struggling. He's 18 episodes and they're 7 behind on editing. And he's just like, dude, we got another girl coming on next week who's got 20 podcasts, and she was about ready to quit because she's just tired and frustrated with it. And we started talking to her, and now I think she's pretty excited again. In fact, now she's coming on because for us, this is the highlight of our week.
Yeah.
And so for her, I'm like, well, if your podcast isn't the highlight of what you're doing, then let's fix that.
Yeah. Re-engineer, right?
Let's re-engineer it. And
Yeah.
so I've been talking with her a whole lot, and so she's super excited about it, and she's going to come in, you know, next week, and we'll have Mackenzie on, and should be good.
Yeah, I finally remembered why we were going down the road in my work and my process.
Oh,
improvement.
process improvement.
Let's go.
Go back.
Which was the quote we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Don't let perfection get in the way of good, right?
Okay.
We were going down that road
We were going
Yeah.
about how people like will never jump, right?
Right.
She maybe she's frustrated that all these people are frustrated because it's not perfect, and then
Yeah.
stop, and it's like, no, you just got to keep going. Like we make mistakes, like maybe the podcast with Ben Collier is going to suck. That's okay, you know. Like
Right.
we'll move forward, we'll learn, we'll adjust,
Yep.
all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So many people are indecisive because they're like, well, it's got to be perfect before I launch, and it's like, well, you'll never launch then, right?
Mhm.
My 10 years working at a big corporation like that is a lot of things never left the idea list
Mhm.
because we tried to do it perfect. If we would have just started and kept going, you eventually work your way up to that. So
Right.
But everybody focuses on the cons. Like everybody
Oh, yeah, for
focuses
sure.
on the negative side of it, and that's what gets that
Absolutely.
decision paralysis. Because it's like, oh, this is the list of things that could go wrong, and they don't even make a list of things that could go good from it. They can benefit from it.
You know, it's
And-
funny. I actually had a client yesterday who I did a home inspection for, and when I first met them, like maybe 10 years ago, they were going to buy this house that needed to be completely. It was a piece of crap, right? But it was dirt. It was like 65, 70 grand. I mean, it was like,
Snap.
oh yeah, like he
Like
sold it for like
property
300.
value.
But they weren't going to do it. And I went in and when I did the inspection, I talked to them, and I was just like, you guys, like, if you don't do this, I am. Let me just tell you that. And I said, and I tell you, I had this house in Honeyville that was a piece of crap. I think it was previous to meeting you. And I tried getting some of my different friends to do it because I was like, I want them to make money. Hey man, this is an awesome opportunity. And they looked at it and they're just like, again, the cons. You're an idiot, dude. You're going to lose your ass. You can't do that. I made a buttload of money. I paid people to do almost all the work, and I pocketed a ton of cash, you know? Now so I said the same thing to this kid, so they ended up doing it, and you think about a young couple who literally over 3 years flipped a mouse and made like 230 grand. Like, think about what that would start you out with. Now, that same couple, I don't even think they're 30 years old, they're buying this 4,000 square foot house in Richmond that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous, you know? It's just
with probably a lot of money down.
Probably with a lot of
'Cause
money
most people
down.
go into it like, well, I can afford it with my bi-weekly or my monthly check that I have for my work, right?
Right.
Oh, I can go get this brand new cool nice house, right? But the equity gains in it they're good, but they're not
Not as
great,
great.
right?
right.
So I mean, you know the house I bought, right?
Oh, yeah,
Brian came
same
with the
thing.
house I just bought.
Same thing.
That
Dude,
old
that was a
lady.
house it was pretty rough. Dude. There was like
Pretty rough. Brian came in, even Brian was like, man, it stinks.
Yeah, dude, it was well, it's funny. So since then, there's actually a house down on. In fact, it's up the corner from where your folks' house is on Main. You know where the little Mexican restaurant is? What's it called?
Yeah.
Yetis.
Yeah.
Yetis.
Yeah,
So
delicious.
2 houses down, that trash house.
Okay.
Like, so a friend of mine has bought that and asked me to go look at it, and I went to do some testing in it, and like I literally pull into the driveway and I get out of my car and I could smell the house.
Yeah.
It was that, and I haven't seen one that because like yours was natural.
Mine was in.
It was in.
It
As
was
soon
all
as you
kept
open
in.
the door, you're like you get hit. It's like walking
Yeah.
into a fog of like
Yeah, the old
musty
lady.
urine, poo, old yuck.
Yeah, the old lady. So this lady, like, I think she'd lost her husband. And she brought cats in as her company. And she had like 20 cats in there.
And she just didn't go to the basement anymore and just let.
Well, not even the basement. It was everywhere.
That's true. It was everywhere.
It
in the
was
house.
everywhere. Like you didn't. I have pictures I can show you. So
Sorry,
Brian came in and looked around. I don't think you looked in the like under the bed. Like, why are we gonna look under the bed? It's just under the bed. There's probably just some junk there. So when we pulled the beds up, there was a mound of cat poop and puke and urine, just like no joke, like 2 inches tall.
Oh yeah,
on both
I believe
beds.
it.
So we pulled all the carpet out and everything. Like, and again, we got it for a good deal because, like, that's a lot of work for people to realize. Like,
Oh, dude.
we got to take this thing down to basically the studs,
to framing.
some of the subfloor. Then we're gonna have a week or 2 of chemical treatment just to like to neutralize
Yeah.
the cat urine, which it took that.
I guarantee it took that.
It took
I've
that.
done it.
You've done this, right?
I've done it so many times. Yeah.
And then you find that little thing. Well, the pipes are rusted out. Okay, cool. Oh, and they ran it to an old septic tank, so the sewer line is halfway up the wall. Okay, and me being me, I'm all like, I'm just gonna do it right. So I tear up the concrete,
Yep.
all new
No.
plumbing. Now it's all. I don't have to have an ejector pump. It goes out the wall. But just with where I'm at, with what it's worth, it's good. And as I finish the basement, I'll have a lot of equity
Yes,
in
you
it that
will.
I can make decisions with. And so I think people get scared off, like you're saying, like, well, I want that. Here's my other soap opera, the entitlement, right?
Yeah.
I deserve this nice new home. I work hard.
hard.
Do you really? Like,
Yep.
like it's tough to make the tough decision to be like, let's go buy the junker and fix it up and have a boatload of equity. So
Well, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. So much of this stuff is about the hustle. Like when you look at my house and my properties and some of the cars that I have, like that is not home inspection that pays for that. It's not. It is my side hustles that pay for that. And I had a dude, Clark Rigby. Clark, I don't know if you joined us live. I sent him stuff. If you're here, cool. But I'm gonna have Clark on here. He's a realtor. Does a great job. Kills it. But and him and I were talking. He's like, real estate is not what paid for the pool. He's like, I flipped 2 houses to pay for the pool. He goes, and then I paid cash. But that's a lot of stuff. So then he's working his job, and then in the evenings he's running a massive remodel project
fixing up his
with
homes. Yeah.
rugs of poo. Because I know that he's just like us. He goes in there, and it's funny. You see him during his day job, and he's slacks and penny loafers and a button-down shirt. And he looks all professional and dope. And then you run into a Home Depot, and he looks like the rest of us. And you're like, oh yeah, I forget. You're like awesome. You're awesome.
I dress like that all the time on purpose. Like
The gnarly or the penny loafers?
I'm actually cleaned up today.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing some slacks and a shirt, but I like to go out. This is just me with like usually my work clothes on. I got like mud on them and stuff.
Yep.
Like when I say mud, like cement and stuff.
Yep. Mhm.
Because I like to find people that are real.
Yeah.
Like people that come up and I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
When that kid got Brian this morning, like, you ready? I picked him up, put him on my
I
shoulder.
like that. It's fine. It's
I did
fine.
that to another friend of mine. I picked him up. He's like, I haven't felt like that since I was 7 years old.
Funny story about this. Years ago, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, we went out to why can't I think of the name of the band? Neil Peart, the drummer.
Oh,
Is it not Rush? Is it Rush?
I have no idea.
Why can't I totally just had a total brain fart. Everybody who knows Neil Peart, he's the drummer for the band. I think it's Rush.
Let me check.
Anyway, so we went out there for a concert thing, and it was really cool. And I met some friends of his, and she is like 6'9", and he's like 7'1". And it was funny, and she actually picked me up and swung the same way. And I was like, this is cool. They had a Great Dane, and it just looked like a normal sized dog to them.
I ended up serving an LDS mission in Brazil, and down there, like,
Oh,
everyone hugs.
Okay, yeah.
Like when we showed up places, everyone gave me a hug, and I got used to it. When I came home to the American culture, it was like,
Yeah.
go give someone a
Yeah,
hug.
he
and
is
they're
like
like, don't get my
Okay.
don't get my bubble, and it's like, I want to get your bubble. Like, I have no bubble. Like, we were in a shower together. Right? I have no bubble. And some people have huge bubbles, and it's fun to get in their bubble.
So, and I did jujitsu and martial arts. You lose your bubble.
Yeah,
You lose your bubble.
So.
One of my favorite things to do in high school, I don't know why I just thought of this, but during lunch, I would go to the German room, and in the German room, they would do skits and things, so they had like masks and like wigs and stuff, and I would, during lunchtime, just put on this old grandma mask, and then walk around the school while everyone was doing it, and just give random hugs to people.
Acting like an old woman.
Acting like an old woman.
I can see that. I love it. That would make you love to make people smile, Joe, and that's one of your most redeeming qualities. And so that's fabulous.
And I would scurry away, nowhere to be found.
I don't know him. I don't know him.
Yeah.
Dye my hair black.
Well, I was so
I
introverted.
think we
in
got
high
a hug
school.
right now. Like just get up and just.
We can do that as we end for the law of the life. You'll see us have a little hugging moment.
Yeah, I'm a big hugger.
You know, I can tell you guys that I am so extroverted that I am noisy and move in my sleep. I'm sorry, there is never hardly a moment when not. It's like I don't think anybody's ever accused me of being an introvert. We all have to, it takes different people to make the world go round.
That's
Oh, yeah.
true.
You know, and like I said, right now I realize we haven't made it that much yet, but by the time we have 100 episodes out,
You'll be there.
I'll be there. And then people won't be able to make fun of me because I'm an extrovert anymore.
Well, here's the thing, you can turn an introvert into an extrovert temporarily if you just start singing "Let's Get Down to Business" in the middle of Walmart. You'll just hear somebody on the other side.
To defeat.
Sounds like, or Marco Polo or something like that. My favorite, well, one I did with my wife, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but we were in Smith's on Maine, and I found some sweet suspenders, and I found a red shirt, and I popped out from, it's me, Mario. Like, what are you doing? I'm all like, this is me shopping, like, me looking for stuff shopping that is not, for shopping for like stuff that I'm interested in, right?
Yeah,
But if you're gonna take me clothes shopping, like, you're gonna see me dressed up as Mario. A trench coat, I don't know, something weird, you know?
Yep.
It's just the extrovert in me, but like coming back to the hug thing and the clothes, like I purposely wear my work clothes, and I, as a point of pride, like I'm very proud of the tile work that I do,
Yeah.
and like the construction that I do. I work really hard to put
Right.
out a great
Beautiful
product
work.
that people are very happy of. But I wear it out too because like I don't want someone to be my friend when I'm at my best, right? When I'm dressed up nice and looking all good. Like, come up and give me a hug when I'm dirty. That's how I know people those are the type of people I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
So
You know what's funny? That's actually funny you say that. So I have a bunch of realtors that I really have a good relationship with, and they always try to come and give me a hug when I'm doing home inspections, and I always feel rude, and I'm like, you can't hug me. I'm covered in feces, dirt, insulation, lead paint, asbestos.
every time
Back
I
off.
see Brian.
So for those of you who try to hug me and I resist, it's not because I don't love you. It's not because I don't love hugs. It's because I have something on me that potentially is hazardous to you.
I think the last time you were in your shit, you're like, hold on, and you like hurry and peel it off.
Yeah.
All right, get in here, big
Yeah,
guy.
I do that. I'll absolutely pull a shirt off and hug somebody so that they're not breathing in my whatever.
And that's respectful, right? If
Yeah.
I had things that were like bad for someone, I wouldn't do that.
Safety.
But again, it's just a little bit of dirt, you know.
No,
Yeah.
the dirt's good for you.
We just did a closing last week, and the guy helping us out. I'm like, I was a little bit dirty, and I'd seen him like the week before when we were talking about stuff. He's like, I'm a little bit dirty. He's like, I don't care. Give me a big hug. And I'm like, this is my kind of people, man.
Yeah.
Like people that know who I am and don't care about a little bit of dirt.
Yeah.
You know? That's just me. I'm just a little bit dirty like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, you do construction, don't you?
yeah.
Yeah,
I do a lot of
construction
construction. That's probably my main source of income. I do a lot of tile work. I build shops, homes, painting, drywall. A buddy of mine just needed a shop build out, so we built 3 offices, a second floor, stair, whatever, you know. Like
Okay.
I do a lot of it. Primarily, I do a lot of tile just because I've gotten
Really good.
really
at
good at
He's
it.
exceptionally good at tile. For those of you who don't know.
So the other part of it too is like part of my upbringing. My mom was like an artist, so. And I know they make the jokes like on Instagram reels that these tile guys think they're the best artists ever, you know. But there is an art to it. Like
There it is.
You guys see my backsplash in my kitchen? He did that.
Oh,
It's absolutely flawless. It's perfect.
Okay.
So we're actually going to do some cooking clash videos.
Yeah.
So we had a guy, John Robinson, who owns an elk farm here in the valley. And so we're going to do some cool videos showing people how to prepare some of these kind of more unique meats and whatnot. And in fact, Thursday, we're gonna pin down a couple of dates to do that, because we've been talking about it now for a month and we haven't done it yet, so we need to get that dialed in.
Oh yeah.
But it's kind of just me, like I can go into a space that's raw and rough like this. And then when they start saying, well, what do you want to do with tile? I'm asking more questions they know what to do with, because they're like, never thought about that. And then before it's even done, I have it drawn in my mind.
Yeah.
And I can see it, and I'm trying to explain what it's going to, like the one I just did. I'm like, we're going to run the tile like this, this, and this, and it's going to warp through like this, and it's carry up the curve. It's going to go up on the tub and in. And they're like, we trust you.
Yeah.
I should have you be my interior designer, is what she said. She made the joke. It was really sweet of her to do,
Yeah.
right? And then she came in, and she's like, it looks just like you said. It looks awesome, you know? And like the metal corners are all tight and everything's coming through, you know? You spend a lot of time perfecting that skill of, like, you know? And I think that's, you know, when people are like, well, what sets you apart? It's like, I can see it before I even do it, you know?
Yep.
Do you think in pictures or do you think in an audio monologue?
Pictures.
Pictures?
Yeah, pictures. My wife says I have a crazy memory. Like I can, there's like, we were talking last night, she's all like, you know, we're talking about stuff and toys. We got too much for the kids, you know? And she's like, you see things differently. I need to see the piece of clothing to remember it. You can just dial back and remember it. Like all these crazy things. Except for if I ask you to like give me a glass of, or a jug of milk on the way home, you'll forget that. Remember all this other crazy stuff, you know? But
Do you have a little ADHD, do you think?
Huh?
Do you have a little ADHD?
I don't know. I never thought about it. So
didn't struggle with it as much, yeah.
not that I know of, you know, like maybe I was never diagnosed or something like that. People I'm just weird, you know.
Well,
I
just
jump
forgetting the
around.
milk thing is very specifically an ADHD.
Yeah.
Like, because that's, you'll ask me something like I will just forget. But then, like you said, I can dial back through my photographic memory and like pick out details that people are like, how could you possibly remember that? But you like, you know, you forget that your sunglasses are on your hat.
Yeah.
You're looking for them.
You lose your phone in your
You
pocket.
lose your phone right here.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Where is it?
it?
You're like looking around. It's nowhere to be found.
There's that. I know that I'm the type of person that like there's people that you can give addresses to that they can like, well, give me the numbers and I'll get there. I'm the type that's like, go to the McDonald's, take a left. You go through 2 lights, and then you're like, my wife's like, how do you remember like this store 4 lights, right? This store left 2 lights, and then up. I'm like, that's just how my mind can remember it. You know, like I know how to get around because I remember all the landmarks. She's like, you're never lost. Like we were the dunes, the sand dunes, just riding lately, and we're just all over and stuff. And my kids were like, I don't know ways back to camp. I'm like, that way, you know, like it just. It's a natural thing that I have. So
well, it is. That's actually a good skill, and I think a lot of us here in Utah have developed that using the mountains because you have to be able to navigate. Like it's very dangerous here if you don't.
North and south, right?
Yeah.
Do you know which way the mountains run? North. Typically, it's north and south, and you can like, I know which way to go there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. People always like one of the major ones that I hear is people like, how can you talk in Compass? Like that one is weird. I didn't know that a lot of people, or not a lot, but there's a portion of the population that you say, oh yeah, just go northeast. And they're like, what's that? Like where, like just give me what I'm supposed to be going to, where I'm supposed to go. It's like
northeast.
So you're not wrong, actually. So like when Destry, my other inspector, I've talked about him a lot. So you know, hopefully you guys that follow the show know who Destry is. And that's something, so in our inspection reporting, right? I'm like, okay, this is the master bedroom. This is on the northwest side of the house. Because people don't know that, and I'm trying to teach them. And that is something he actually struggled with. So it's interesting because he's like, how do you get in a house and just know which way is which? And I'm like, I don't know. I just always know.
Yeah.
North is always that way.
You just have to do that. And the north, east, west, south. Like,
and it was just funny, you know, and that he kind of struggled. But then,
never eat sour watermelon.
never eat sour watermelon.
Just got a text from my kid that said he's watching me.
Oh, is he? Are they watching on the live? Hey!
What's up, Dylan?
Tell him to make a comment. We'll respond on the show.
Dylan, make a
ask
comment,
question,
buddy.
Dylan.
He's good. So this last trip, speaking of real quick, we'll just go down that road. Just did something cool. So there they have a big mountain, sand mountain. It's pretty big, right? And for years they've always wanted to climb it. Him and my older daughter, but they've never had the machines to take them to the top.
Sure.
So my 14-year-old, she's riding my Honda 450 now because she's like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, May, but she's tall.
Yeah.
So she can ride around. And then my boy, he's a really good rider, but just never had the right bike. And so my buddy had just bought a KTM 300 for his kid with a lowering
That's
kit.
a cool bike, yeah.
Yeah, it's got plenty of power and it lowers.
That's the 2-cycle one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sweet bike.
And so we were sitting there day 2 or 3, and he's like, "Dylan, go jump on that," you know. And he sat on it, and when he rides to the 450 run, which he's done,
You can't touch the ground.
he can, but it's like tippy toe. The bike's heavier, like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not sure of himself. So the first day, my daughter, she's been cycling herself for a while. She rips right to the top, and then she's like, she did it like 20 more times. I'm like, that's cool, you know.
Yeah,
And
it
then
is.
day 2, my boys ride the 450, and he went up most of the way, and came down, and didn't quite. And I'm like, dude, you're there. Go to the top. You've done the hard part. You come down the hill. That's usually the hard part. Well, I don't know what's up there. So then once he figured out the other bike was more comfortable, the next day he ripped to the top. And so the last day we're sitting there, and he's like, "Can I go climb the hill one more time?" I'm like, "Oh, let's ask my buddy if he can take it, you know." So he gets over there, and there's almost no one there. There was like an 18-year-old kid that showed up for the day ride, and he's on the phone talking to his friend. And Dylan gets on and just hits it, just man, 4th gear, just blasts up. And you got a picture like this, he's a teeny kid.
Yeah.
He's not built like me. He's a smaller kid on a big bike, just flying to the top. He's talking, he's like, the coolest thing just happened. 10-year-old just ripped to the top better than I ever would, you know? And so it was cool.
That's awesome.
And then he went around and was jumping and wheeling and stuff on this bike after riding it for 2 days. And this kid's trying to keep up, and he's outperforming and stuff. So anyway, plug for the kids.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
awesome,
did cool
dude.
stuff. So
Yeah, that's way cool, man. I tell you, when you grow up doing that stuff, they just develop those skills.
start them young, right?
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine, Brock Butters. His kids all race, and he's pro and whatnot. And his 11-year-old daughter's out there winning against adult women, just smashing them. And it's like they're all like these calm, sweet little children.
Yeah.
They're just great kids.
It's normal to them,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
just
when they
normal
start
to
with
them.
it, like try to put my kids into dirt bikes and skiing and things very young, so that they're not scared of it. 'Cause they're not scared when they're young, right? It's fun.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
But you know, I've always taught them. Someone had the phrase where do dangerous things carefully. Like teach them the rules. Like
Yep.
you know, when in doubt, gas out. You know, if you're, you know, all the cool things you tell them. You know, brakes and stuff. But then give them the right equipment. And then once they know that, let's teach them how to do dangerous things carefully. Like I think kids need that more and more these days, right? Like get off the TVs, get off the YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
I know, right?
Part of it's good, right? There's so many cool things,
Sure.
but too much of it. One thing is, you know, you need to get back out there and ride bikes and get dirty and do cool stuff too.
Yep,
So
that's right. Everybody does. Everybody does. Dang, you guys, that is an hour-long podcast. Can you believe that?
we
just
only
talked
talked for
about-
a minute.
I know, huh?
Did we
it
accomplish
says-
anything? Like,
Yes, we accomplished 100% the goal of why we're here.
we jumped around a lot. I'm like, I don't even know if we talked about what we were supposed to talk about, even though there was nothing we were supposed to talk about.
We
All right.
talked about the hardships, the overcoming them. We talked about the growth, the journey. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. It's like trying to let people know, like, dude, everybody has a hard time. Everybody has a story, and you are all interesting. Every single one of you has an interesting story. And so we just want to be on there. And so this is a great time. I appreciate you being on the show with us, Ben. And you guys, if you enjoyed this show, this is a great time. If you haven't already, like and subscribe our channel and find us on social media accounts so you can kind of follow up with everything that we've got going on. And we do film twice a week. I know we're a little bit slow on releasing, but we've got a great company up in Canada, Edmund Munson, who's helping us out get the stuff edited. And so hopefully here by next week, we'll be doing some consistent releasing.
Absolutely.
So but thanks for joining us again, you guys.
Are we gonna roll out with a hug?
We're going to roll out with a hug right here live.
Here we
Everybody,
go.
right in front of the 360. Group hug around the 360. You're all in the group hug. There's a group hug for all the live folks as well. That's awesome. Okay, thanks for joining us, you guys.
Toodles.
That's awesome.